Have you ever had one of those moments where something you've done for years, something you thought was good for you, suddenly turns out to be dangerous? Imagine this: you wake up in the morning, pour yourself a glass of juice, slice up your favorite fruit, one you've trusted for decades, and think, this is healthy. This is what my doctor would want me to do. You've probably even heard people say it's good for your heart, good for your immune system, good for your skin. But what if I told you that this very fruit, this innocent, everyday food, could silently raise your risk of stroke overnight? No warning signs. No red flags. Just one moment you're fine, and the next, you're dizzy, confused, and struggling to speak, all because of something that's been sitting in your kitchen for years. It sounds dramatic, I know. But this isn't a scare tactic, it's a wake-up call. Because for older adults, things change. Your body doesn't process foods the way it used to. Your medications? They react differently now. And sometimes, even the healthiest choices can backfire when you least expect it. I want you to think about that for a second. Think about how many times you've tried to do the right thing. How many times you've chosen fruit over chips, juice over soda, fresh over fried, only to discover now that one of those good choices could be silently working against you. And here's the scariest part: it's not just about the fruit itself. It's about what that fruit does inside your body, especially when combined with common medications, like blood thinners or heart pills. It can magnify side effects, spike your blood pressure, or mess with your brain's blood flow in ways you'd never see coming. Now, before you panic, take a deep breath. Because you're in the right place. In today's video, we're pulling back the curtain on this surprising stroke trigger. You'll learn what the fruit is, why it's dangerous for certain people, the science behind how it affects your brain and blood vessels, and what smarter, safer options you can switch to, starting today. And let me just say this, the section where I explain how this fruit interacts with blood thinners, you do not want to miss that part. Especially if you, or someone you love, takes medication for heart health or blood pressure. So, if you're someone who truly cares about staying sharp, independent, and in control of your health as you age, then this video is for you. Go ahead and comment "brain health" down below if you're ready to take your health into your own hands, and protect that incredible brain of yours. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide. This is your safe space for honest, practical, and deeply caring senior health advice that puts you first. Let's uncover the truth together. Let's talk about the surprising culprit, grapefruit. Now, I want to take you into a real-life story. Mrs. Thompson. She's 72. A retired schoolteacher. Sharp as a tack, always wore those classic reading glasses, and never missed her morning walks around the block. Every morning, like clockwork, she'd prepare the same breakfast: a bowl of sliced grapefruit, a piece of toast, and her usual medications lined up neatly beside her tea. She truly believed she was doing everything right. Eating fresh, keeping her heart in check, staying hydrated. But then, one quiet evening, everything changed. She was reading on the couch when suddenly her arm felt numb. Her speech started slurring. Her daughter, who had just stepped into the room, immediately called 911. By the time they got to the emergency room, the doctors confirmed what no one expected: a minor stroke. Now here's the part that shocked everyone, even her physician. Her medication levels were abnormally high. Especially the ones for blood pressure and cholesterol. Not because she took too much. Not because the dosage was wrong. But because of something else entirely. Grapefruit. You see, grapefruit contains a compound called furanocoumarins. That's a mouthful, I know. But here's the important part: these compounds mess with a very specific enzyme in your liver. That enzyme, called CYP3A4, normally helps your body break down and process certain medications. But when grapefruit blocks that enzyme, your medications don't get broken down. They build up in your system, quietly, dangerously, without you even knowing. Imagine your blood pressure pills or statins stacking up in your bloodstream day after day, not because you're taking more, but because your body just can't clear them out. And over time, that overload can throw off your entire cardiovascular system. It can spike your blood pressure. It can cause dizziness, heart rhythm changes, and yes, even increase the risk of a stroke. And here's the kicker, Mrs. Thompson had no clue. Because no one ever told her that this fruit, this so-called health food, could interfere so severely with her medications. She thought she was making a smart choice. And she's not alone. That's one of the biggest misconceptions I see, especially among older adults. You've been told for years that natural equals safe. That fruit is always a better option. That if it grows on a tree, it can't possibly hurt you. But here's the truth. Once you're on prescription medications, especially the kind that affect your heart, brain, or blood pressure, your body becomes a whole different ecosystem. And in that new system, even the most innocent fruit can turn into a silent saboteur. So here's what I want you to do, starting today. Always check with your doctor or pharmacist before eating grapefruit, or drinking grapefruit juice, if you're on medications. Especially, statins for cholesterol. Calcium channel blockers for high blood pressure. Anti-anxiety meds. Certain antidepressants. And especially blood thinners. This isn't about fear, it's about knowing how your body works now. Because knowledge is power. And the more you understand how your foods and your meds interact, the better you can protect your health, not just today, but for years to come. But grapefruit isn't the only fruit that carries hidden risks. In fact, there's another common fruit. Sweet, soft, loved by just about everyone, that might be doing more harm than good when it comes to stroke and heart health, especially if your kidneys aren't as strong as they used to be. Bananas. Now don't get me wrong, bananas are one of nature's easiest snacks. No washing, no peeling tools, soft on the teeth, gentle on the stomach. It's no wonder they've become a favorite among older adults. But here's a story I think you'll want to hear. Uncle Ray. He was the kind of guy who believed in food as medicine. He'd start every morning with 2 bananas, sometimes 3 if they were small. He called them his brain boosters, said they kept him sharp and full of energy. But then the strange symptoms started creeping in. He'd feel his heart fluttering out of rhythm, short bursts of chest discomfort, and sometimes, a dizzy spell would hit him out of nowhere. At first, we all thought it was stress, or just part of getting older. But when he finally went in for tests, the results surprised everyone. His potassium levels were through the roof. And that imbalance was affecting his heart's electrical rhythm, putting him at risk of cardiac arrhythmia, and yes, even stroke. Now here's where it gets interesting. Bananas are known for their high potassium content. And under normal circumstances, potassium is great for your heart. It helps control blood pressure, supports muscle function, and even reduces the risk of kidney stones. But when you're older, things change. If your kidneys aren't filtering efficiently, or if you're on certain medications, like ACE inhibitors, angiotensin receptor blockers, or potassium-sparing diuretics, then your body might struggle to get rid of excess potassium. And when that potassium builds up in your bloodstream, it can throw off your electrolyte balance, leading to irregular heartbeats. Or worse, a full-blown cardiac event. The tricky part is, potassium overload doesn't always feel dramatic at first. Maybe you feel a little off. A bit lightheaded. Your heart skips once or twice. But over time, the damage adds up. And if left unchecked, it can lead to a stroke. Here's the big takeaway: just because something is healthy doesn't mean it's healthy in excess, especially as we age. Most people think there's no such thing as too much fruit. But when it comes to bananas and potassium-rich foods in general, moderation matters. Your body isn't flushing out nutrients the way it did in your 20s or 30s. And the medications you take? They can shift the balance even more. So what should you do? If you're on medications for blood pressure, heart failure, or kidney function, talk to your doctor about how much potassium is safe for you. Instead of eating 2 to 3 bananas a day, try cutting back to just 1 or 2 per week, and rotate in some lower potassium fruits like berries, apples, grapes, peaches, and if you're someone who blends a banana into your smoothie every single morning, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what else am I taking that could be stacking up behind the scenes? Because it's not just about avoiding bad foods, it's about understanding your body's needs right now, at this stage of life. The good news? Once Uncle Ray adjusted his diet, cut back on bananas, monitored his potassium, and started balancing his choices, his symptoms improved. He felt better, steadier, more in control. And that's what we want for you too. But we're not done yet. Now, let's shift gears and talk about something that feels even more harmless, a snack many people keep in their purse, their car, or a jar by their recliner. Something sweet, chewy, and deceptively comforting. It's not fresh fruit, it's dried fruit. And while it may seem like a healthy treat, the truth is, it might be silently damaging your blood vessels, one handful at a time. I want to tell you about Grandma Helen. She was the picture of routine and self-care. She'd sit by her window in the afternoon sunlight with her favorite book and a little jar of dried apricots right beside her. It was her healthy treat, a reward she'd give herself for staying away from cookies and cakes. She believed, like many do, that if it's fruit, it's fine. After all, it's just fruit with the water taken out, right? But over the course of just a few months, things began to change. Her blood pressure crept higher. Her blood sugar began to fluctuate. She started feeling more tired, less steady on her feet, and her doctor raised concerns about prediabetes. Now at first, no one thought to question the apricots. They were just fruit. But when her nutritionist reviewed her daily habits, that little jar turned out to be a major culprit. You see, dried fruits, whether it's apricots, raisins, dates, or figs, are concentrated sources of sugar. When you remove the water, you're left with a dense package of natural sugars, and those sugars hit your bloodstream fast and hard. Let's break it down for a moment. Fresh grapes? Pretty harmless in moderation. But dry them into raisins, and suddenly a small handful contains the sugar of an entire meal. No water, no fiber to slow digestion, just a rush of glucose that can send your blood sugar soaring. And if you're someone managing diabetes, high blood pressure, or vascular issues, these sugar spikes can cause real damage. What kind of damage? They put stress on your blood vessels, especially the tiny, fragile ones in your brain. Over time, that stress can lead to a thickening of artery walls, narrowing of blood flow, and the kind of silent damage that raises your risk of ischemic stroke, the kind caused by blocked arteries. And here's where it gets tricky. Most seniors, and even caregivers, completely overlook portion sizes when it comes to dried fruits. I only had a few. I keep a little bag in my purse for snacking. It's just fruit, better than candy. But here's the truth. Just 1/4 cup of dried fruit can contain as much sugar as a can of soda. And the kicker? Your body doesn't really distinguish between natural sugar and added sugar when it's overwhelmed. It responds the same way, by spiking insulin, stressing your arteries, and increasing inflammation. So what can you do? You don't have to give up all your favorite snacks, but you do need to be mindful. Here's some practical advice. Stick to very small portions, we're talking 1 to 2 tablespoons, not a handful. Look for unsweetened varieties, many dried fruits are coated in extra sugar. And better yet, choose fresh fruits with high water content, like pears, apples, melons, or even citrus fruits like oranges, which hydrate you while delivering fiber. These options not only taste great, but they help regulate blood sugar naturally, slowing digestion, hydrating the body, and protecting your delicate blood vessels from sudden spikes. Now I know, it's hard to give up something that feels harmless, especially when it's been part of your routine for years. But you're not giving something up, you're making a powerful choice to protect your brain, your heart, and your independence. And trust me, the peace of mind you gain is worth far more than the handful of raisins. Now let's turn our attention to a fruit that instantly makes you think of beaches, palm trees, and sunny skies: coconut. On the surface, it seems like the ultimate healthy choice. It's natural, it's tropical, and it's everywhere, in drinks, snacks, cooking oils, and even desserts marketed as healthy alternatives. But here's where the story takes a turn. I want you to meet Frank. Frank is 75, a retired mechanic with hands that have fixed more engines than most people have seen in a lifetime. A few years ago, he started feeling some stiffness in his knees and hips. His neighbor told him about coconut smoothies, said they were great for joint health and completely heart-friendly. So, Frank made the switch. Every morning, instead of his usual oatmeal, he blended coconut milk with fruits, sometimes even adding a spoonful of coconut oil for extra benefit. He loved the taste. It felt rich, filling, and wholesome. But within months, something changed. At his next checkup, his LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, had climbed higher than it had ever been before. His doctor was concerned. That rise in LDL was putting more pressure on his arteries, making them narrower and stiffer. And when arteries narrow, blood flow to the brain can be restricted, setting the stage for a clot-based stroke. Now, why did this happen? It comes down to saturated fat. Coconut, whether as oil, milk, or cream, is naturally high in saturated fats. And while a little bit can be fine, too much can tip the balance in your cholesterol profile, pushing LDL up and HDL, the good cholesterol, down. Over time, those LDL particles start sticking to the inside of your arteries, forming plaque. That plaque buildup narrows the pathway for your blood to travel. And if a piece of that plaque breaks off, it can lodge itself in a blood vessel in the brain, cutting off blood flow and causing a stroke. Now, here's the tricky part: the misconception. Coconut products are often marketed as superfoods. You'll see bold labels saying natural, organic, and heart healthy, and it's easy to believe that more is better. But here's the truth. What's healthy for one person may not be the same for someone in their 70s or 80s, especially if there's a history of heart disease, high cholesterol, or high blood pressure. For seniors, especially those already managing cardiovascular risk, moderation is the key. Here's what I recommend: limit your coconut intake. Don't make it a daily habit unless approved by your doctor. Choose unsweetened coconut milk if you use it. Many brands add sugar, which doubles the harm by raising blood sugar alongside cholesterol. Avoid processed coconut snacks, especially those coated in sugar or mixed with chocolate. These are a double hit of sugar and saturated fat. And if you enjoy coconut, treat it like you would a dessert, something you savor occasionally, not something you rely on every day. Frank made these changes, cutting his coconut smoothies down to once or twice a month, and his LDL began to drop. His energy improved, and his doctor was pleased with the progress. And that's what I want for you: not to fear foods, but to understand them so you can make choices that keep you healthy and strong. But before we move on, there's one more fruit we need to talk about. It looks harmless. It's bursting with antioxidants. It's even been praised for heart and brain benefits. But for seniors taking blood thinners or certain heart medications, this fruit can thin the blood too much, turning a health booster into a health risk. Let's talk about pomegranate, and why it may not be as innocent as it seems. Let me tell you about Evelyn. She's 80 years old, with a soft smile and a bookshelf full of health magazines. After reading an article about the incredible antioxidant power of pomegranate juice, she decided to make it part of her daily routine. If it helps the heart and fights aging, she thought, why not? Every morning, Evelyn poured herself a tall glass, ruby red and refreshing. But within a few weeks, strange things started happening. She noticed purple bruises on her arms and legs without remembering any bumps or accidents. Even brushing her teeth led to more bleeding than usual. And one afternoon, she felt suddenly lightheaded after standing up, her vision flickering at the edges. Alarmed, her daughter took her to the doctor. Blood tests revealed her INR levels, used to measure blood thickness, were dangerously high. She was at serious risk of hemorrhagic stroke, the kind caused not by a blockage, but by bleeding in the brain. Why? Because Evelyn was also taking warfarin, a common blood thinner used to prevent clots in seniors. And pomegranate juice? It amplified the blood-thinning effect. See, pomegranate contains compounds that may inhibit certain liver enzymes, especially those involved in breaking down medications like warfarin, apixaban, or even aspirin. The result? The medication stays in the bloodstream longer and works more intensely than intended. Now, here's the key point: pomegranate, on its own, is healthy. It's full of antioxidants like polyphenol that protect your cells from damage. But when mixed with certain medications, it becomes a wild card, turning a healing agent into a hazard. This is a common mistake. People assume that if something is packed with antioxidants, it's automatically beneficial, no matter the quantity or the context. But in senior health, especially when medications are involved, more is not always better. It's about knowing your personal chemistry. So, what's the right approach? Here's the practical advice: if you're on blood thinners, talk to your doctor before adding pomegranate to your diet. If you already consume it, limit intake, maybe just once or twice a week, not daily. Watch for signs like easy bruising, prolonged bleeding, gum sensitivity, or dizziness. These are your body's warning lights. And if you're craving a fruit juice, consider safer alternatives like pear or blueberry, which tend to have fewer interactions. Thankfully, Evelyn adjusted her routine. She replaced daily pomegranate juice with herbal teas and upped her intake of leafy greens, under her doctor's guidance. Her symptoms faded, and she returned to her book club with new wisdom to share. This brings us to a crucial realization: it's not about avoiding fruit altogether. It's about understanding how our aging bodies process them differently, and how medications change the game. So now that we've explored the fruits that can surprisingly increase your stroke risk, even when they seem healthy on the surface, it's time we step back and zoom out. Because beneath all these examples lies something deeper, something far more human. The emotional weight of change. The mental tug-of-war between old habits and new realities. And the quiet grief that often comes when we realize our bodies, once resilient and carefree, now demand caution, structure, and limits. Let's talk about that. The emotional side of these changes, and how to stay empowered while making smarter choices for your health. Realizing that the foods we once believed were harmless, comforting, even, can actually do us harm, it's a quiet kind of heartbreak. For many of us, fruit was love. It came sliced in school lunchboxes, or in a bowl handed over by a grandparent who didn't say much but always remembered your favorites. It meant health, freshness, simplicity. So when you're told, later in life, that grapefruit could mess with your medications, that bananas might trigger a stroke, that dried fruits can silently spike your blood pressure, it's not just confusing. It can feel like a betrayal. You begin to wonder, what else have I misunderstood? What other habits need to change? And, am I already too late? But here's the truth: this isn't about fear. It's about reclaiming power through knowledge. Because once you know, you can choose. You don't need to give up every food you love. You just need to adjust, substitute, moderate, time things wisely. And when you do that, you're not just avoiding risk, you're stepping into a deeper level of care for yourself. It's not a restriction. It's a form of respect. For the years you've earned, for the wisdom you've gained, and for the life still ahead of you. If you're caring for an aging parent or partner, or you yourself are navigating your 60s, 70s, or 80s, this is the moment to pause. Look at your kitchen. Look at your medications. And most importantly, look at your routine. If any of the fruits we've discussed today are regulars in your home, and you're on medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, or clotting, it's time to have a conversation with your doctor. Not in panic, but in curiosity. That single conversation could prevent a life-altering event like a stroke. Because while a stroke can arrive suddenly, the risk often builds silently, in what we eat, in what we ignore, in what we assume is healthy. But just as risk builds, so does protection. Every smart choice, every question asked, every label read, that's you building your shield. And let me say this clearly. Aging doesn't have to mean giving up joy. It just means choosing it more wisely. You're not fragile, you're simply more complex. And with complexity comes the chance for informed strength. You have the power to thrive. But thriving, at this stage, starts with knowing how your body really works, and listening when it speaks. Let's do a quick recap. We talked about 5 seemingly healthy fruits that can increase stroke risk in older adults. Grapefruit, interacting dangerously with heart and blood pressure medications. Bananas, potentially causing potassium overload and triggering blood pressure swings. Dried fruits, sugar-packed and blood sugar spiking, especially dangerous for diabetics. Coconut, high in saturated fat, contributing to artery-clogging cholesterol. Pomegranate, a potent antioxidant, but risky when combined with blood thinners. Each one of these fruits offers real benefits. But for seniors, especially those on medications, they also carry hidden dangers if consumed carelessly. This isn't about cutting these fruits out entirely. It's about knowing how much, when, and with what else. Now I want to hear from you. Have you, or someone you love, ever had a surprising reaction to a fruit or food? Maybe something that didn't seem risky at the time, but turned out to have a big effect? Share your experience in the comments. You never know who your story might help. And if this video gave you something to think about, if it gave you clarity, comfort, or even just a moment of reflection, subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide. This channel exists to walk with you through the unique challenges and beauty of aging, one choice at a time. We don't chase fear. We seek understanding. We don't shame aging. We honor it, with truth, with tenderness, and with tools to help you feel strong in your body, mind, and heart. Thank you for being here with me today. Take what you've learned and bring it into your life, gently. Ask questions. Make small adjustments. And celebrate each smart decision as a step toward longevity. Stay informed. Stay curious. And above all, stay kind to yourself. Until next time, take care.